Namaskar learners, I Dr. Abhishekha Sharma, faculty at Manipal University Jaipur, welcomes you to the course The Leadership Equation Balancing Vision, Strategy and People. In the previous module by Dr. Bharti, you learned about the various aspects of developing leadership skills. As we proceed with the first module of week 10, that is conflict resolution in leadership, in this session we will be focusing upon the first topic of the module, that is introduction, understanding conflict, sources of conflict, learning objectives. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to set the objectives of the session. By the end of this session, the learners will be able to clearly explain what conflict is and understand its underlying nature. They will be able to recognize the different sources that often lead to conflict. They can reflect on how conflict manifests in different environments, like in the workplace, in communities, and within ourselves. They will also be able to apply this understanding to approach conflict with a more informed and solution-oriented mindset. What is conflict? Let's start with the basics. What do you mean by conflict? Imagine two co-workers trying to meet a deadline, but they disagree on how the work should be done. That tension, that friction is conflict. More formally, conflict is defined as a serious disagreement or argument, typically a protracted one. In social contexts, it occurs when individuals or group perceive that their goals, interests, or values are in opposition. Conflict often arises from differences in needs, values, opinions, and even interpretations of fact. But here's something we often forget. Conflict isn't always bad. It's a natural part of human interaction. When managed well, it can spark innovation, lead to better decision making, and even strengthen relationships. Characteristics of conflict. To understand conflict more deeply, let's look at its key characteristics. Inevitability. Conflict is a natural part of life. Wherever there is interaction, conflict is likely to arise at some point. Perceived incompatibility. It's not always about actual opposition. Often conflict stems from the perception that goals or interests are incompatible. Interdependence. Conflict usually occurs between individuals or groups who are in some form of relationship or dependency. Dynamic nature. Conflict evolves. It can escalate, de-escalate, or shift form over time. Emotional involvement. Conflict is often accompanied by strong emotions such as anger, frustrations, or anxiety. Communication component. Miscommunication or lack of communication is a major contributor and amplifier of conflict. Understanding these characteristics allow us to approach conflict more constructively and avoid assumptions that might worsen the situation. Types of conflict. To better understand conflict, let's break it down into 4 common types. Intrapersonal conflict. Ever felt torn between two choices? That's conflict within yourself. For instance, deciding between a stable job and a dream startup. Interpersonal conflict. This occurs between individuals. Think of disagreements between friends, colleagues, or family members. Intragroup conflict. Picture a team project where members clash over ideas. This type of conflict happens within a group. Intergroup conflict. When entire groups or departments have competing priorities or interest. We see conflict at broader scale. Can you think of examples from your own life? Feel free to pause and reflect. Why understanding conflict is important? You might wonder, why should we study conflict? Isn't it just something we try to avoid? Actually, understanding conflict helps us prevent unnecessary misunderstandings. It promotes empathy, seeing things from someone else's perspective. It sharpens our communication skills, helping us respond instead of react. And it gives us tools to manage disputes constructively, whether in a boardroom or at a dinner table. Common sources of conflict. Conflicts don't just pop out of nowhere. Let's explore the common roots. Communication gaps. Have you ever sent a message that was misread or misunderstood? A missing word or tone can lead to major confusion. Differences in values or beliefs. This can range from political views to religious beliefs or cultural practices. When people hold strong, differing convictions, conflict can surface easily. Competing interest. Think about a situation where two teams want the same budget for different projects. Their goals may be equally valid, but competition can spark conflict. Limited sources. Scarcity of time, money, space, or attention often pushes people into conflict, especially in high-stakes environment. Personality clashes. Sometimes it's simply about how people operate. An introvert and an extrovert working on the same task may struggle with rhythm and communication styles. Case study example. Let's make this real with a quick case study. Meet Alex and Priya. They have been assigned a group task. Alex is meticulous, values punctuality, and prefers structured timelines. Priya is more flexible and spontaneous. She often submits work just before deadlines. Over time, their differing work habits cause tension. Frustration builds up. What started as a minor annoyance snowballed into a conflict. Here the source is a combination of personality differences and conflicting expectations. It's a classic example of how everyday differences can escalate if not addressed. Impact of conflict now. Let's talk about outcomes. Unmanaged conflict can lead to stress, lost productivity, and broken relationship. It's emotionally draining and can erode trust over time. But conflict handled with care can bring positive outcomes. It encourages people to speak up, share new ideas, and push for improvements. Think of debates that led to policy changes or innovations born out of differing perspectives. Advantages and disadvantages of conflict. It's helpful to weigh the pros and cons of conflicts. The advantages of conflict can be listed as: it promotes problem solving and innovation. It encourages open communication. It also builds resilience and understanding. It helps clarify values, roles, and expectations. Whereas the disadvantages of conflict are as follows. It can damage relationships and morale. It can distract from goals and productivity. It may escalate into hostility or aggression. It causes stress and emotional strain. Recognizing both sides of conflicts help us to be more thoughtful and intentional in how we engage with it. Managing conflict through awareness. So how do we use all this information? Awareness is the first step. When we know what triggers conflict, we can take proactive steps to prevent it. We can choose clearer communication. We can acknowledge our own biases and listen better. By being conscious of the root causes, we foster environments where collaboration thrives and tensions are addressed before they explode. Conclusion. Conflict is natural. It's a part of being human. But when we understand what it is and where it comes from, we shift from reacting emotionally to responding thoughtfully. Well, as we come to the end of this topic, a small reflection on what we learned throughout. You are now able to explain what conflict is and understood its underlying nature. You have recognized the different sources that often lead to conflict. You can now reflect on how conflict manifests in different environments. You can apply this understanding to approach conflict with a more informed and solution-oriented mindset. Conflict is not something to fear or avoid, but something to understand and manage. It is a natural part of human interaction, inevitable where differences exist. With awareness, empathy, and effective communication, conflict can become a powerful catalyst for growth, collaboration, and innovation. I hope this session has given you a new perspective on conflict. In our next session, we will dive into the levels of conflict. Till then, thank you and happy learning.